Welcome to It's Life Changing. Today's lesson is social media, light and dark places. Last month we talked about love of self, love of others, love of family. Today we're talking about our love for our community. All of this month we've been talking to police officers, we've been talking to the community, we've been talking to just regular people, everyone about bringing healing back to our community. And that's what it's really all about. And so today we're actually going to be talking about something a little different. So I wanted to bring sort of more of a youthfulness to the show and sort of talking about social media and how it plays a role in some of the things that are happening. But of course, me being me, I want to do it differently. I really want you to understand some of those things because I don't want you just to get a piece of that information. I want you to hear the full story. And so I'm going to let my guests share a little bit of information just to bring it to light. Okay? So please welcome to the show my very special guest. First and foremost, Judge Ramona Taylor. Give her a hand. Thank you. All by herself, I want to again say thank you. This has been a wonderful series. It's been wonderful working with you. I think we've done an awesome job all month long bringing the series together. So thank you again for everything that you did to help me bring this together.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Again, she's been awesome. Judge Taylor has an awesome background. You've heard about it all throughout the show. So again, thank you so much for your service as well.
Thank you.
Also, we have on the show Miss April Woodard, a Hampton University journalism professor and media personality. And by media personality, there's a lot in that, but we're just going to keep it at media personality, this beautiful woman. We also have Mr. Christopher Jeter from 200 Plus Men. He's a board member. And also we have Miss Sierra Harris, Norfolk State University Master of Counseling student. So we have a diverse panel. So I love diversity. I love differences. I love opinions. I love for people to share what's going on because we represent our community. So I want to jump right in because there's been so much conversation that we've been having, but I want to keep it light today. So let's talk about social media. I'm going to let Judge Taylor kick us off and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. As you all know, there have been instances when people have actually taped the police when they've been conducting stops, conducting arrests, and oftentimes those people themselves have been arrested for obstructing justice. Recent case law has indicated that the First Amendment protects taping the police when they're conducting arrests or stops, as long as you don't interfere with that arrest or stop. So I'm interested in knowing what you all think about that. Do you think it's appropriate for people to tape the police when the police are conducting law enforcement duties?
And I like to hear from our young adults.
I certainly feel that it is appropriate. You said obstructions of justice. To me, justice is fairness, integrity. It's constitutional. Back to the First Amendment right. That's our First Amendment right to actually record things when it needs to be recorded. So no, I don't think that. And secondhand, the Obama administration on last year, I want to say, they offered $236 million just to put out body cameras on the police officers. So if it was an obstruction to justice, I don't even think that our president of the United States would just took that next step to offer them so much money to have body cameras on the police to actually do the recording themselves rather than us recording them. So I think that no, it's not an obstruction of justice. Justice is constitutional. And that's my First Amendment right.
Thank you. And you feel passionately about that.
I do.
I'm teasing you. Great job. Okay. You want to add anything, Chris?
I think really as far as, taping the police officer, I think that it's public information. The public should know what's going on in their community, and it's important for us to know just in case, something happens where the police may have done something wrong or the person that's actually being detained did something wrong. It's public knowledge. It's public information. So I really agree with the First Amendment right in that we should be able to tape those.
And it's interesting having these differences of generations of different opinions because a lot of people who are more old school would say, no, you don't do that. That's getting in the way. You stop, you stay in the car, you keep your hands down, you say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, as our previous guest said on the previous episode. She was very adamant about that's what you were taught. And so I'm going to move over to Miss April Woodard and talk a little bit about the traditional versus sort of where we are, this modern social media or media in general. Do you think it has changed?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's been a major transformation between how things are covered in the news, how things are become news, things that are trending on social media then become the stories. And now people are paying attention to that as gatherers of news. And we have to pay attention to that. So, and kind of going back to what you were talking about earlier, I think it is imperative that people shoot. And I say shoot, that means videotape. just to clarify, just to clarify, you shoot video, you shoot digital images, you record. I'm a TV person, so I use that lingo, but I think it's imperative that people do because of accountability, and I would agree with the young lady because that's why officers throughout the country are getting body cams for accountability purposes. But I think you need two angles, as long as you're not getting in the way of what's going on. And honestly, I have been recording things myself. With situations that I felt that I needed to record. I first say that I'm a journalist, and I let them know that, that I'm recording this conversation, just as they may come up to me and say, you're on body cam, I'm recording, and I say, I am recording too.
Exactly. And interesting, you mentioned accountability in one of the offices here at the studio. There's a quote in a picture with Anderson Cooper actually saying, about accountability, get the facts, and then tell the whole truth. And so that's one of the things what inspired me really to do this show is because I think so many people, and now with social media, they're taking pieces, and they're running with it, and as much as I love my young people, again, they're taking these pieces of information and not getting the whole truth. And I have an issue with that. And then people will argue and say, well, even with traditional media, you're only getting a piece. And so do you think with traditional media, and even now or then, it has been biased towards certain ethnic communities?
Yes, absolutely. It absolutely is biased. It absolutely, in sports, in politics, in everything, it is biased.
Can you give us an example? Because I don't think that people really get, I think they feel it, but I don't think that everybody understands.
Look at the situation with Cam Newton. Right now, he won the Super Bowl. People are on him because he's a sore loser. I'm putting that in quotes. That's what people think because of the way that he acted after the Super Bowl. But he has acted that way previously before too. And there are other people who are quarterbacks that I won't mention their names, and they've acted poorly and looked like babies and sat on the field with their legs out like a baby with their, and the New York Post has made fun of those and made light of that. But I think that there are differences in the way that we cover it. And we're now learning that, he was upset because he could overhear people saying that he wasn't playing the game because they didn't divide the Broncos from the Panthers in the same room, and so it was distracting. Could he have handled it differently? Absolutely. Should he call me to get some coaching? Absolutely. Call me. I'll do it for free. But I think that it is a bias in the way that they cover, black quarterbacks.
What do you all think?
I think just the news and the way that they portray some ethnic communities is different. And I think that's why social media is really important, because sometimes the news may cover one aspect of the situation and it may be different on Instagram, different on Facebook, but it's a difference in opinions, but I think it kind of confuses the answer sometimes and the solution and what we could do to help. So I don't know what the answer may be.
I love the differences. I love the different perspectives. What I don't love is the solution or the missing solution. Because, yes, it offers everyone an opportunity to give their perspective, their opinion of the situation. But at the end of the day, I want solutions. I want you to know the facts. I want everyone to come out and say, how can we help this person, not turn it into this bullying, gossipy session. And so in a way, I love that piece, but where's the solution in there? So, one of my questions is social media, is it helping or is it hurting?
I think it's helping because I think it's exposing us to information that we otherwise would not have. I think it's helping because it's allowing people to have a platform to express themselves. But you have to be careful, and this is what I teach my students too. You can't count on what's happening on Twitter and Instagram to be factual. You have to still do the work. Work. They don't want to hear that, but you still have to do the work to get the facts and confirm with sources. So you can't just believe, we have somebody dying on Twitter every week and we're like, oh no, he died, and then we find out, oh no, he didn't die. So you have to get the facts, and you can't run with it unless you have it confirmed by at least two, maybe more sources than that.
And this is coming from the professor of journalism, and this is what we're talking about. But we have all of these sort of what we call street news people out there who are like passing on information, and I think at this point today, I feel like everybody has become a reporter of news, and in a way, that's a good thing. That people are are sharing news, but I feel like there's some other things going on. And I feel like Miss Sierra has something to say.
I absolutely agree with those who spoke before me. I feel like we need to be competent on what we say. We can't read every single post on Facebook, on Instagram. You have to do the research. As I always say, every time I see a post, I'm going to do my research, use my resources, and find out the true story, and also being culturally competent of everybody's perspective, so I can find that solution to that situation, because I'm a solution-focused girl. Okay, that's done. Now, what can we do from here on out?
Exactly.
So I feel like as social media has offers us so many resources, the better part of it, I can find more resources to help the solution of the actual whatever's going in the news, from the biases, from the things that's not biased, from things that's actually news. So I'm more of a solution focused. So thank you for social media.
Yeah, I think, it can be used like anything, good or bad. And I think, I think it's wonderful. You mentioned the word platform. I love that you sort of, what you said. I think it's there for that reason, but I think some people take it too far. And again, we have now a whole generation that is their news. Yeah. They're not reading the newspaper. They're not watching the morning news. They're not watching this lovely face. They are, going straight to Twitter or waiting for Twitter to hit them, and that is the news, and they run with it. And so I love that you said, get the facts. We need to get the truth. We need to make sure people are accountable for the information, because I mentioned the word bullying. Many times that's what it can look like. Someone says one thing about you, and next thing you put it on Facebook, now 2,500 people know this, and they're passing it around, and you haven't even had a chance to respond or answer to something you shouldn't even have to respond to in the first place. And so I'm going to move over to Chris and wrap it up here. I know you have some experience working with a lot of the youth, especially with the 200 plus men. Tell me a little bit about our youth. Okay, I want to talk to you about that and their perspectives of law enforcement.
Right. So I think the perspective of youth from as it pertains to law enforcement is really conditioned, is learned through generation and generation, because when you think about the history of the police, they really came to existence during slavery, right? And they were slave patrols, and they were night watchmen and things like that. And so really that created the disdain with the police. And so then it grew into Jim Crow laws and after the Reconstruction era, and they were their responsibility was to uphold the Jim Crow laws and the black codes and all of the things like that, and to really oppress us in a sense, right? So to grow and to become the modern police department, not to say that it can't be changed, because I really do think it can be changed. Good. It's just, in essence, building a relationship, right? I'm sorry. But just to go through the history, though, because it has to be told and it has to be understood just so that we can be able to provide a solution. And so now I think that really going into the perspective of the youth and how they view the law enforcement just through their parents, and because a lot of those people that were going through those things were like our parents and our grandparents, so they still have that disdain for the police. And if they're saying like, come in the house when the police is going in the neighborhood, or don't talk to them, don't snitch, and things like that, to bring it to a more modern context. So I think the perspective is a little is blurry, is cloudy. So really, to build the relationship, we have to really build a trust with the police department. They have to come into the neighborhoods and knock on the doors and visit the children. We have to get them while they're young, because if we allow other people to paint the picture of the police officers in our brains, then it's going to be tarnished forever.
I totally agree with that. And one of the things we've been talking about throughout this series, and of course you guys weren't here for that, but talking to the police about the different things they're doing in the community, and we talked about community policing. It's always been around. I think with a lot of things that are going on in the news, sometimes it can get sort of overlooked because of all the bad stuff. But there has been some great things, not saying there aren't some bad people in this world, that does exist. The piece about generational, we just talked about that in our last episode, and we had, sort of white versus black interactions, with the police. And people just have diverse perspectives because of what they've been taught,
experience.
And their own experience. But also those reactions, though, they come from what you've been taught. And what people don't always understand is sometimes is not, even if you've never had an experience, and that first experience, you're going to react a certain way based on what your parents or grandparents or what you've been taught. And so we had actually Caucasian people here and African American people here, and their experiences in my little research study were totally different. What
Absolutely,
they,
vastly different.
Totally different, and what they were taught and how they interacted. and how they interact currently, modernly, with the police. And so these are things that we want to show our young people, that it's not about color, but yes, we know that sometimes you're going to be picked on, but also learning how to be respectful in any interaction. Because what I've seen also being a professor is that you have to learn how to respect authority, period. And if you're not taught that young, then you're going to disrespect professors, you're going to disrespect the police, you're going to disrespect people who are older than you. That's not something that was put into me. You will respect the older people. Right. You will. And a lot of our younger generation, they're missing that respect piece. And so that's one of the things that I really want to make sure that I want people to know in this conversation. Yes, it's about social media, and it's about sort of light and dark places, but part of the light and dark places is in your dark place. I want you to make the changes inside of you so that you have the information, education, awareness, understand that we're giving you wisdom here about how to move forward. And hopefully they're watching this because it's a part of social media. Okay, and make some changes. So lastly, I want to end with, what are some of the solutions do you think that how we can bridge that gap between community and some of these things that are going on?
I believe that some type of multicultural competency that needs to be enforced in the law enforcement, from them getting to know different communities, what's the demographics of the community, what are the families like, and so forth, on the behalf of the law enforcement, that needs to be done. And as well, in the community, adults need to start teaching their children about multicultural, about different people, so you can be more aware of what the world is around you rather than what's the world beside you. So I think that's that's imperative, that we need to know that. Even me growing up, I grew up in a rural area. I knew nothing but what was in my area. However, when I stepped away and went to college and met so many other people from different backgrounds, I understood the world in a different light. So even coming home, explaining myself, sometimes they don't understand because maybe I've experienced more. But I feel like that's imperative from kids to actually let them know the world in a different light. And then the police always being around the community, more community policing. Before the perspective is tarnished in their head and home, they can actually see it. So you can say something, but doing something is absolutely different. So when the police is there, letting them ride in the car, or telling them what I do, that's that's building relationships. So building relationships is vital, basically. And also doing some type of multicultural competency on the law enforcement behalf.
Thank you so much. Okay, I want to end with Ms. Woodard.
Okay, well, I think there are a couple of solutions. One, of course, is to educate the students, educate young people. I say students because we're professors, but educate young people on how to interact with police officers. And that's one of the things that we're doing at my church. We have a very active youth group. We're bringing in a police officer from the Virginia Beach Police and showing them physically, having them stand there and reenact instances that happen, and how you're supposed to direct, how you're supposed to act, what your rights are, what you can do and what you can't do. I had an officer one time stop me. I didn't speed or anything, but he stopped me, and I was videotaping it on my phone. And he told me I had to put it down because it's a gun phone. So my children, who are babies in the back, is, "Mommy, you have a gun phone?" No, I don't have a gun phone, but we need to know that we can actually show videotape and protect ourselves in that way. But the other reverse is a campaign that I've been noticing, and we're using it as a case study. If you look at all the police officers and all the videos that are now going viral, many of them are police officers playing basketball with kids, and the one where he comes back and brings Shaq, that is a concerted effort to change the image of police officers. And because of those, I believe that it is working to change the images of police officers.
I really think it is. You guys have done an awesome job providing all this great information, and I love it. I love it. Thank you again to our guests. Give them a great big round of applause. Okay, from work to solutions. Thank you so much for watching. It's life changing. Stay tuned. We will be right back. It's now time for our community resources. I'm so excited to have on the show with me today Mr. Anthony Matthews. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. But before we get into our super topic, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I'm from the area, from Hampton Roads. I grew up a student athlete in the area, went away and played football in college and on professionally, and retired and opened a few businesses that assist the community with housing and community services and ancillary residential services.
Awesome. So I love those great stories where we go off, not easy because you probably skipped a few things in there. It's not always easy, but you go off, do great things, and then come back and give back to your community. That's really good. Now I understand you also are involved or have an agency or organization called RAC Nation. Tell me a little bit about RAC Nation, what RAC stands for.
Well, RAC stands for Random Acts of Kindness. It was actually built upon the James 2nd chapter, 17th verse, that says faith by itself, unless it produces good deeds, is dead and useless. So I try to every day, live by that and try to do something, in the community that will help me, have a strong faith and, help myself be able to look in the mirror.
Exactly. I like that. And so now RAK stands for
Random Acts of Kindness.
I think that's cool.
Random Acts
you
of
like
Kindness.
that? I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
RAC
actually,
Nation. So tell us a little bit about this sort of RAC Nation and what you do in the community with.
Well, RAC Nation, again, it's a community, faith-based organization that relies on grants and gifts from individuals, families, local businesses to support or assist the community that's having a hardship of any kind.
Give us an example.
Well, for example, the recent layoffs with the shipyard. Our organization would figure out a way to help, be it by grocery giveaways or assisting with mortgage payments or of some sort, or helping
Don't be
with
calling him with your mortgage issues, okay? I know he said random acts of kindness, but
yeah, but there has to be a real need. There has to be a real need. But in any way that we can, help, that we try to.
So do you just accept anyone, or how do people find you? Not necessarily contact-wise, but how do they find you? How do you link yourself? You link yourself to businesses or to individuals or to nonprofits?
Well, to both. Actually, to all three. We work with individuals, local businesses that are for-profit, and nonprofits, and a few government agencies as well. We work with a lot of social services offices that give us, that help us, be able to do things like grocery giveaways. They enable us to do things like help with utilities and heat, in the wintertime and things like that. We also work with kids as far as scholarships and, helping them be able to go away to school. And for the youth, we've actually just implemented a youth spring football league for the kids. But it's not just about, football. For the spring, it's more so about them being able to take the SAT, take the PSAT in time to be able to go to that next level. A lot of times, kids don't take it until their senior year. And after they take it that one time, they don't score high enough, they're stuck. They're stuck.
You have to wait.
So we want to catch them, early. The ages are 5, start at 5 to 18, and we want to keep them in the system, throughout their whole childhood, so that when they go off, to go to the next level.
So you have a relationship with them that you're building over those years and exposing them to different things that maybe they wouldn't get in normal circumstances.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. And so that these wonderful people can contact you, so how can people reach you for your random acts of kindness, or if they have questions or concerns?
Well, we do have a website, www.racnation.org. That's RAK-nation.org. You can certainly email me anytime. I'm an open door policy at amatthews@racnation.org. Or give us a call at 240-398-7776. And our door's always open.
I think that's wonderful. Too. Now again, don't flood him. If you really don't need the service, if you spent your money last night on something else, and then today you can't pay your rent, don't call Mr. Anthony Matthews. Okay, this is for people who really, really need it, okay? I'm joking, but I'm not, okay?
Well, actually, what we really need right now is for the football league, we actually need a lot of local businesses to be sponsors for the league. We have a lot of ad space available on our uniforms.
Good.
Even our mouthpieces will be sponsored by someone. We already have sponsors like Gatorade and Dick's Sporting Goods. Marriott USA Football, which is the governing body for the NFL Youth Foundation.
I love it.
And we're looking for local businesses to come on as sponsors as well and help us, grow the league.
I think that's wonderful. So businesses, if you're watching and you want to sponsor this awesome organization, Rack Nation, give them a call. We'll have the information on the screen so that you can get more information. But reach out. Mr. Anthony Matthews, give him a hand. Awesome job. Keep up the good work. And so as we close today, I have a closing thought. Not getting the whole truth is not the truth at all. Be sure to use your platform to make a positive difference in our world. We have enough hate and we have enough haters. So be sure to support, motivate, and congratulate. Spread the following message on your social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Hate can only be conquered with love. Understand that. Hate can only be conquered through love. Thank you so much for watching this series this month. I really enjoyed myself. I want to again thank all of my guests, including Mr. Matthews today, and everybody on the production team here at Sky 4. Thank you again for watching It's Life Changing. God bless you. Until next time.